start me.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Tonight we have Pastor Riley Grandel of the Gulf Shore Church for the invocation.
Father God, we just thank you. We thank you for the honor and the privilege that it is to be able to open this meeting with a prayer and have the freedom that we do in this nation. Lord, I thank you for your protection. I thank you that no storms this year and that you continue to watch over us and keep us safe, for this is one of the most beautiful places to live there is in the world. I thank you, Lord, for your hand to be upon this council, to guide and direct them, to make the right decisions in all that they do, to lead this city in the way that they do. And Lord, I just give you praise and honor for all that you continue to do to show people that this is the place that you are, you're having your hand, and that you have your hand upon them, and that you guide and direct them. And I would that if anybody would join me tonight and just in a prayer together, that our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mike, roll call.
Councilmember Bogas.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
Here.
Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Mayor Gibson.
Here.
Councilmember Corey.
Here.
Councilmember Fullick.
Here.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Here.
All right, public comment on agenda items. Do we have any public comment? All right. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, item 7.
Mike.
Hmm?
Comments for,
Comment?
Oh, yeah.
Just on the agenda, I just want to say that I'm very pleased with our lobbying team. It's on the consent agenda to do them another year, but for those of you who've been here long enough to remember the administration prior to theirs, head and shoulders. I mean, they've done a great job. We get very great reports. We always know what's going on. So they've done a great job. So though it's a consent agenda item, it's noteworthy enough to say it's worth the investment, and they're doing a good job. That's it.
Any oth-
Yeah, I have one other comment. I do appreciate that on one of the 2 green sheets regarding professional services, we did summarize the line item, tying it back to the budget. I would like to see that in all future expenditures, particularly under the consent agenda, so we can tie back and verify. And I did talk to Arlene about the one item regarding the fencing, and that it's fully within the guidelines and scope that they talked about, so.
Okay, moving on to 7A.
This is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, approving the petition of Bonita Springs Utilities Incorporated to increase its water aid to new construction fees, certain miscellaneous service charges, and creation of a new RV/mobile home rate class, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you again. This is the updated tariffs, some of the updated fees and new classification we discussed at the last meeting. See, Andy and his team is here if you have any questions for them. Otherwise, we're looking for open up public hearing and adoption.
I have a couple of questions. That would be all right, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I don't know who wants to take it, but, so when we did our stormwater management fee structure, there were certain conditions that people were given discounts. So I know that you guys mentioned that there were certain facilities and restaurants that were not really dealing with, they were just dumping everything down, and that was becoming a real problem. so you're gonna fix it. But what about those that put in all the latest and the best and spend the money to actually make it even better for you guys to deal with? Do they get a discount? And the size of the, is there variances that you allow?
So if they're doing things correctly and have installed all the pretreatment devices, if you will, they won't be subject to any additional charges. These charges are just for those, in that instance, for those that are not complying with the current sewer use policy, with the goal of those charges to get them to put in the proper material, proper equipment to do pretreatment.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, other questions, comments? I just had somebody ask me about the difference between what we're proposing and, say, Punta Gorda and Cape Coral. Why we're going to be so much higher than them?
It just it actually kind of follows the area. We're higher than some of those that are up to our north, and we're lower than some of those that are to our south, both before and after the increase to those. Part of that is because we're allocating the cost properly, I believe, to where they belong, as opposed to passing those on to the monthly ratepayers. So we take extra effort to try to make sure the costs are being allocated properly, and then those increases were calculated based on the recent inflation that we've seen and the projects that we've been incurring that were going over budget. So those new impact fees are to cover those new capital projects needed to serve new capacity.
So prior to the increase, it's been costing you guys more?
Yes, and prior to the increase, we were still higher than those and to the north of Fort Myers and Punta Gorda in the same ranking, just kind of the way it falls.
So with that difference, do you think that they're passing the, is it costing them as much and they're just passing it on to the ratepayers? Or, why are they?
I haven't gotten into theirs specifically, but as you notice, a lot of the impact fees, you're seeing when connection fees are higher in a lot of places, even in Cape Coral. You've seen in the news, their impact fees or connection fees for sewer are much higher than ours are. I really can't say without getting into their methodology, but Steve, I don't know if the rate study that's incorporated into the packet goes under the methodology and goes through all of our capital budget items that are included. So it takes all those into account and trying to allocate those correctly.
Okay. Yeah, just because, we're trying to attract more new things downtown for redevelopment, and, it just seems like we're kind of hitting them with another rate increase, and it's going to cost them more to build down there.
Yeah, and this is the first, or it's been several years since this impact fee was raised, and hopefully, I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but I believe that this is going to set us up. We're going to be good for the next many years to come without having to increase those impact fees. Steve, I don't know your thought. That was my thought on this. Yeah.
Jesse, you had a?
Well, my issue is, this will come as no surprise to any of you. I've almost 6 years on this council and I haven't voted for a tax increase yet, and that goes to our budget. So to go to their budget, you probably already know how I'm going. I just think that the downtown right now, we've put so much money and time. We have so many people who are, in the process of building and working on things down there. I really hate to, add financial burden to that process, especially financial burden that isn't coming to our budget. So, for those reasons, I'm a no.
Derek, you had?
I just happen to know this because I serve on the City of Punta Gorda's Utility Advisory Board. They're increasing their connection fees and impact fees 4x. So, part of that, the reason everybody's increasing theirs, one of my other clients, City of LaBelle, increased their water fees 80%. They actually didn't increase their capital connection costs, because that's always a snapshot of what the next phase is. And so Punta Gorda is going to be going through a $200 million expansion. So that's getting recaptured by increasing those fees. Without major expansions, until something comes up, you're not doing the study to see where you are, what you need. So I would say that it's almost impossible to always compare you to somebody else, because they're probably going through the same studies at the same time. And as far as I'm aware, nobody's nobody's going down. They're all going up because that reflects the cost of doing business today. But
Yeah.
I did know that Punta Gorda was raising theirs by 4x. I don't know what Cape Coral's is.
Nigel?
Yeah, Andy, we talked about this last time, but I think the big thing that's important to our citizens is the fact that we've got no surprises coming down the road. Our infrastructure, your facilities are state-of-the-art, so we're not gonna be hearing that you've got to replace the plants in the next decade or so.
No, and that's part of the reason why I said I don't see an increase to these again in the near future because there are no surprises that we have.
Which some of these cities around us do have some surprises coming.
Yes.
Jim?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and reiterate what Nigel just said, and is that what you've built is an excellent process, and I think the allocations here in this case, although do carry burdensome issues to a new business, for the tens of thousands of residential customers that buy services every day in terms of residential water, there are no increases to their water rate usage. So that need to subsidize the artificially lower costs, I think that I'm pleased that there are no rate increases to the residential home user.
And just to clarify, correct, but the impact fees are just to pay for the new development and capacity.
Right.
Not, yes. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Motion to approve ordinance?
Second.
Motion a second. Roll call.
Public comment?
Oh, public comment on this item. All right, seeing none.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
No.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogaz.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, item B.
This is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, amending Division 1 titled Generally, Division 2 titled Local Planning Agency, Division 3 titled Planning Commission Local Planning Agency, and Division 4 titled Zoning Board of Article 2 Administration, Chapter 4 Zoning of the Land Development Code, renaming Division 2 as Planning and Zoning Board, providing for membership, powers, duties, and procedures, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and an effective date.
As I've, already taken out the long number sequences for Michael, this was just a new way of torturing him with the extreme long title. Thank you. So again, this is the second reading on the consolidation of the land use boards, specifically the zoning board and the LPA will be bringing back further consolidation for powers for the other boards that you asked for at the first reading. But if you have any questions at this time, again, the issue is you're combining the memberships of the board, so you have to pick new members, but the powers do not change. The standards do not change because of Senate Bill 250 and Senate Bill 180. We're stuck with the current standards. I do wish to address those at some future point and tighten up the rules for adoptions of code changes and rezonings, but at this point, the standards don't change, the board gets consolidated, and as we've discussed, you end up saving a little bit of time in consolidating the staff review process.
Is there any way to roll in the tree board and the historic preservation?
So,
this, or-
what I would, to not affect this, the way this goes, is we would just assign their duties to this new board at a future point when we make those changes to the code. So, the tree board has separate code provisions in it, and so does the historic preservation. If I was to add them, we'd have to restart the notice process and start over again. So,
So we just need to do that separately.
yeah, so similar to in your last meeting, you assigned to yourself some of the powers of the Historic Preservation Board to deal with the fact that we weren't able to get a quorum. It'll be more like that. We'll bring back separate code changes to have those additional powers brought, and that'll give you an opportunity to talk about those boards and how they get incorporated in.
Okay, Jim?
Yes, as in the last meeting, I am against the combining of the two boards, but understanding the reality of the likely vote this way, I do have several questions to clarify. The first, Derek, centers around, clearly we're going to have a group of 14 wonderful individuals that have effectively serve this city in their capacities with the LPA or on the zoning side. I'm hoping that all of them are going to express an interest in terms of continuing their role with the city on this board. So my question really boils down to, what do you foresee or what do you need from us to establish a process to the selection of this board?
My recommendation would be for us to reach out to the entire membership of both boards and see who's interested in continuing to serve, so we know where we get down to. And I expect that we're gonna have more than 7. You know, I think the preference would be to have some from both boards carry over so that you have some level of experience from both boards. But as far as, you know, recommendations on how to choose, whether it's length of service, experience, diversity of membership throughout the city, I don't have a magic answer to that. My recommendation is probably going to be for us to pull their applications and their CVs to you, have a summary of their years of experience on the board, other you know, involvement they have in the community, and ask the council to select. As difficult as I know that would be.
Are there any
I don't have any other magic bullet
Are
answer.
there any thoughts at all from my fellow council members?
Well, one of the things I think would be appropriate if we gave those members, current members, a heads up and asked them to update their resumes, time served. I think that would be helpful, knowing we know some of those members personally, what a great job they've done, but I think for everybody on council to have an equal opportunity to see what those folks have done and what their qualifications are.
And Derek, can we do alternates? So if
So,
we, you know,
there are many boards that communities use alternates. The problem with the alternate is that to really be useful, the alternates should participate in all the meetings. They should be there, and then it's like, you know, jury selection. They're sitting there for everything. They've got, nothing happens if they don't miss a meeting, and then they show up for, you know, they'll cover some meetings from time to time. I don't know that it's
Yeah.
a valuable exercise. I feel like you're wasting somebody's time.
Anything else, Jim?
Well, again, assuming we go down the path that this freight train has left, I would kind of ask that, based upon comments with other members of both the LPA and the zoning board, that whoever does sit on this board, that there is a formal training session beyond sunshine law that formally addresses their roles, responsibilities, and guidelines for their role in this board. There's sometimes been confusion in the past, and I think that either Derek and/or community development should go ahead and host a public session, a public workshop, or whatever with the entire group, so the whole group can hear the same message at one sitting and that type of stuff. So I'd ask that if this does go through, that we go down that path. Other than that, I'm done.
Jamie?
Yeah, I just want to go off what Nigel had just spoke of, and we have members that have served for many years on these boards, and I think when we go to elect, and if we have them update, that we really need to take that into consideration, because they have the experience. A lot of them have lived here for many years, if not their entire lives. So I think we really need to take that into account when we're looking at combining these boards if this does pass.
Jesse?
Along the same lines of what Jim said, and then back to what Jamie said, with the roles and responsibilities, I want to say we've tried to inoculate this issue for a number of years with both of them, and for some reason LPA goes and they want to do zoning, and zoning goes and they want to do LPA. I don't know why. It's just how it's been happening. So yes, I mean, I'm all for continuing it, but it isn't for lack of trying, just so you know. It's not for lack of trying. I think it's for lack of understanding or lack of wanting to stay in the box that they're supposed to be in. It's almost like, hey, here's what I think it should happen, which is what we do. What they're supposed to do is examine whether it fits the appropriate criteria to move to the next level or not. And you're not supposed to think about anything else. They have a problem with that, some of them do. Along with the experience side of it, yes, there's a lot of people who have great experience, so we do need to consider that. There are also other people who have been here for a very long time that staff may have a different opinion of how productive their participation has been over the years. So I don't want to say because somebody's been here for 8 years, we need to necessarily keep them if for 8 years they've been making Derek rip his hair out. So that said, I think each person should kind of, be considered in that regard. I know I got at least one email from somebody who's expressed interest in volunteering. So I don't know if anybody else has, but, and I'm not saying I want to co-sign on, I accepted the email. I'm not saying I think that this is the person or not, but I think as we all get them, we should probably kind of get those all to Arlene or somebody so we can kind of start getting that together, right?
There is a process. They have to, they don't give it to us. They have to,
Right, they have to put it in to the city,
well,
right,
to Mike.
right. And then we'll get those, and then we can kind of go from there.
Will I make a motion to approve the ordinance?
Second.
I make a comment.
Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, I just want to point out that what we're trying to protect is the integrity of the comprehensive plan. And to me, that a single board ensures that every rezoning, every variance, and every major development is judged directly against the comp plan in one public forum. And I think having it split detracts from making sure that the comp plan stays in focus. We approved a project that I voted against. I think that comp plan was not strictly adhered to as it should have been. I think if we go to one public forum, I think there's better protection of the comp plan. So I just wanted to state that.
Mike, you had a comment?
Just some clarification. So then I am not going to advertise for applications, correct? You're going to select from the existing current members of both boards, or is this direction to advertise?
Well, I think Jesse was indicating he'd like to advertise.
Well, we advertise how much,
I think,
because we need to kind of get the board going
Yeah.
quickly.
I think the direction that we heard was that you would like us to request first is the members who are currently serving, if they're still interested, and if so, they should be updating their information. And if you'd like us to also, make it aware that the new board is coming along, if someone else wants to submit an application, they can do so at the same time.
Well, and we're always accepting,
Correct.
people drop stuff off for interest all the time, so if there is any other ones, we'll put them in there too.
Okay, so I will bring an item on the agenda to the next meeting, the 17th, for the selection of members. So this ordinance, though, we have a zoning board meeting on the 16th. They're scheduled to hear a case. So this will not go into effect then until after council appoints a board?
What I would recommend we do is we can just change the effective date in section 6, will affect January 1st.
January 1st, okay.
Okay, and what I also would think might be a helpful, we're gonna need to stagger the new membership, so that we have, they don't all start with the same term, we'll stagger that. We can make that decision at the next meeting, but one of the things we could consider is, we have a number of memberships on both that are coming to the end of term, we have some that still have some terms, maybe we could, we could stagger based on who's got time left at the end of the day, but I think make selections at the next meeting, and then we'll figure out after we've made the selections how to stagger the terms, and that could be, we could randomize it, but, I think that's another element that we need to incorporate the next meeting.
Yeah, and all the meetings are online, so it's a good idea to kind of go back and watch some of their meetings, just to see how everybody, acts on the board and kind of questions they ask, and,
how many total? We get 7?
yeah, 7
And so there's 14 spots, 14 people,
people,
7
7
spots.
yeah.
Okay.
But we actually don't have 14 candidates currently.
Right. And they may all not, and.
Right,
they're-
that's what
yeah.
Nigel's.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, we're changing that to,
Are we amending that? as a-
amending it to start on January 1st, as long as that's amenable to.
Yes, motion.
We have a
Okay,
motion
just
and a
one
second.
question though, just to make sure that we don't screw anything up. Okay, so say we do it this way and we only get 4. Now we have to go out and we have to make some type of public announcement to try to get people to do it. Does that screw with our timetable in any way? If it doesn't, cool. I just want to see if, just make sure that's not any.
I think we'll get
No.
enough interest.
There's,
Well, and just to I think you already said it, Jesse, you have somebody that's interested.
I have 1.
So, but there's nothing to stop them from putting their application in right now. So for the publics, anybody listening,
Yep.
it's available.
Eileen?
I just also wanted to add too, is one of the things we've talked about in the past, and it would be helpful if there was the consensus of council on this, is there are professional organizations like APA and FAPA as well that actually have training for planning. They call them planning commissioners. Some of them are do the dual role. Also with David Theriak, he usually does teach many of those courses too, as has Derek. But there are professional organizations either around the state, locally. We could put one on here and invite our neighboring jurisdictions. But what's supportive, many of them have all voluntarily done it, but you've had some members that had not done it. So if you could make it a requirement, that would be helpful. We would bring the training to them or provide the opportunity to take the training.
Well, I think that, quite honestly, anyone that goes on it, and if there's change in membership, needs to have that training. And it's no different than the ethics and the sunshine law, and that it's just gotta be, here's the guidelines, and for zoning, here's the guidelines for the LPA and so forth, and those just have to, whether it's new member or whatever. And I think it should be done in a workshop environment that anyone new for the first time, everyone can watch it. You watch the sausage being made, and just basically train everyone at the same time versus doing one, like we typically have done.
No, when I was on the Historic Preservation Board, I had to do a course that certified me, and everybody on the board had to be there, and it was in this room with somebody from, the Florida Historic Preservation Society, I don't know, and we had to listen to and follow and understand what it was we were to judge.
I agree, and I just think that based upon the questions I've received from some of the existing members on both boards, there's a lot of questions and unclarity because we haven't done this training in recent times. And I
Right.
just think we need to incorporate this as standard operating procedure, that's all.
Well, Derek does a great job on.
We did a training actually for the city council a couple of years ago. We invited members from both boards.
Yeah, but like I said, these are the people that are doing day in and day out. And I just, if a new member goes on, we just got to make sure that they get their questions out of the way and that they're ready to go.
No, and I also agree completely with Arlene that I like the idea of bringing in third parties, because it reinforces the issues. If I tell somebody something, or our staff tells somebody something, and also David tells somebody, they needed to hear it from multiple voices to really sink in. And sometimes it also helps them to ask questions they might be embarrassed to ask me or someone else. So I think having training and actually, to Councilman Fitzpatrick's point, maybe we should just look at doing this on a biannual basis or something like that for everybody. Because I also think there's high value in doing it, not just as a refresher for the boards, but also even for the city council. Just constantly reinforcing, those issues.
Good. So we have a motion and a second.
Public comment?
Public comment.
Ben Hershenson, happen to be vice chair of the zoning board. I spoke a couple of weeks ago. I've spoken months and maybe even years ago about we should start looking at coalescing some committees and boards. Really, I wish it would happen at the national level, that they talk about it, but they don't do it. I look at this board, this council, it's about as diverse as any group of people with fantastic different backgrounds, all of which come together and really do a great job governing this city. The staff, I can't say enough about. They're fantastic. Community development, the kind of work it does. You got to start cutting back somewhere, and I think this is a good way of doing it. It helps the applicant, it helps the consultants, it helps a lot of people. And to me, we have a diverse group of members, of course, sitting on the zoning board. The LPA, I'm not familiar with the membership, but I support this. I have done this now for quite some time, that I think all of the details can be worked out. As I said the last time, the devil is in the details. I don't worry about those. We have the capability with the staff that we have and you folks that I don't worry about what it's going to end up. but I think it's a move in the right direction. I support it for many different reasons, and I hope the council will support this with a unanimous vote in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
No.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. All right, item 8A.
This is the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of Bonita Springs, Florida, adopting the 2025-2026 five-year capital improvement program annual update, providing for legislative findings, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
Good evening. Lisa Roth, Director of Financial and Administrative Services for the record. We are required by Florida statute to approve by ordinance our five-year capital improvement program plan, which is actually the current plan that you approved in your budget back in September. So just so everybody's aware, and I'm going to see if y'all have any questions. Thank you.
I have a question.
I thought we were on.
Come on back, Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
I know we approve and everything is set, and of course, we really don't know how things are going to go with the vote in legislation, but can we add the beautification of Old 41 and Bonita Beach Road to include, you know, like maybe lowering the wires and to, I mean, like, I would love to keep that sign and just like change the snowman to then a cupid to, I don't know, a witch or to what, you know, like just change, you know, the center. We just have to buy a different thing for the middle. It really looked beautiful. And so if we could just do the corner of Bonita Beach Road to be included, and so lines underground and sidewalk maybe fixed up and, you know, some plantings.
Arlene has a comment.
At this point, I don't know that you would need to, because that would require you to actually amend the budget. But you do have a capital improvement line item for Bonita Beach Road visioning. Most recently, we discussed that last meeting with Representative Botana, looking at visioning of beautification projects. We can start with that if you'd like us to do some for planning purposes, but to actually call that out individually and amend the budget, you'd have to do an ordinance change and then this. So I think the direction, if that's the direction of council, to look into bringing back information, plus the next step would for us to do some cost analysis of that, and that would plan for future budgeting in next fiscal year, and then we could have a separate line item for that.
Perfect. I don't know how council feels about that, but.
No, that's fine. Bring it back.
I had one question, because we do have the flagpole in the CIP. And I was recently talking with Matt about some property that we have on the other east side of I-75, right along I-75. That might be a good location to put that flagpole, because I know years ago, we want to do the flagpole, but we were always looking for a place to do it. And it's city-owned property now, and be very visible from the highway. And I know it might be a tough ask in only 212 days until our 250th anniversary of our founding. But I would love to see a flagpole there, and as quickly as possible, if we can.
Second.
I know Cape Coral's working on doing a 250-foot tall flagpole, and they're trying to get theirs done by July 4th also.
251 feet.
They haven't talked to the FAA yet.
Well, actually theirs would be the tallest in the state at 250 feet, and it'd be the third tallest in the country.
251 feet. I'm saying, if we're
but-
gonna go 250, we might
But
as well go
the other side of that is they're looking at about $500,000 to put that flagpole up. So little more than what we've budgeted for.
Yes.
So
Let's just do a really big flag.
I was just hearing Jesse saying about that tax increase.
But since we already have it in the CIP, is that just something we can give direction on, kind of
Yes,
looking
since it's
into
already
and
in the CIP,
see if we can
and
get
then
that?
if there was additional costs, we would need to bring that back to you to address.
Okay. All right, any other comments? I know there was a motion.
Yeah, well, we're gonna just move to second reading? Or is it public comment?
Oh, yeah, this is on first reading.
This one doesn't require public.
No public comment. Okay, everybody's good? All right, thank you. Oh, Chris, yeah.
Flipping through this, it reminded me, we, in the community aesthetics portion of the budget, the highway monuments and welcome signs, is that related to the, what seems like 2 years ago, where we came up with the idea for the stone-type monuments for direction and so forth? Has that finally gotten off the ground?
I can give you a little update I actually got today. I do want to remind you, you didn't choose the stone ones. You chose the ones that have like a clapboard finish. Logan Boulevard in Jim's district was the first sign that you entered into a construction contract on, and I don't have the schedule. They delivered it to one of my project managers, but a construction schedule was delivered today, so they're getting ready to start on the Logan Boulevard sign. The other piece that you set in motion, which was more complicated, is the design phase of the beach accesses, where you had the feedback about how many spaces are available. And they've been working on that for the better part of this last year, coordinated with Lee County. So Lee County's working up an agreement, but we are working that. It'll probably come back. Now, that will be an expensive undertaking should you choose to move to construction, but we're finishing up the design plans on it.
And one of the things we've talked about with county administration is partnering on an ask to the TDC, since it's beach and shoreline, because this is identification of beach accesses as well.
And will the sign say, no spots available or 2 spot, right?
Basically, it'll have spots available, and as well as we have to denote the special needs spots separately, the ADA spots. So you'll have 2 kind of feedbacks on that, and if there's no vacancy, and hopefully that helps people not create fender benders and
Right.
the things that you see that go on out there. Plus, there'll be 1 remote sign as you're approaching the beach from.
Similar to the one in Collier County. That's-
Yeah, they'll tell you total available.
I'm assuming, Arlene, it's a little early for us to go to the TDC and talk about it. I've got a meeting.
Well-
I've got a
We
meeting.
we don't have construction numbers, but we soon will, and that's probably when you would want to talk to them about it. But we're working the plans right now.
But a preliminary introduction of that we'd like to partner is
Maybe an invitation to have our executive director come down and meet with staff.
as soon as we have the,
Yeah.
forthcoming, that it's forthcoming, yes.
I think the timing would be good right now.
And, also, we set in motion the signage for downtown, the wayfinding ones. Where are we at with that?
We've got several gone back and forth with proposals on that, because the dollars for what you're getting seem to be a little off. So I've got a proposal on my desk to review and take a look at to bring back to you. But, that's more of a fluid request, I would say, in terms of the signage. But we do have a proposal for that. I've actually just haven't had a chance to review it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. Thank you. Now we're doing 8A. Derek?
So, as with all things, you've now taken on yourselves to be part of the process of the Historic Preservation Board. So this is the first item under your consideration. Mike's going to give you the rundown on it.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Fegan with Community Development for the record. Yes, so as Derek had explained, as the green sheet states, you now have the authority to review properties that are subject to the city's demolition delay ordinance. So congratulations. this is a section of the Historic Preservation Land Development Code, and this is a list of several hundred properties that, while they are not officially designated, the Historic Preservation Board feels that they may have some historic significance, whether that's age or a type of building material or a potential way it was constructed back in the day. It hasn't been, we haven't drilled down specifically for each individual piece, but it's sort of like a broad strokes view that these properties may be historically significant. So they're placed on a separate list where the property owners can do whatever they'd like to do until it comes time to actually demolish the structure. When that happens, the code allows a delay of the issuance of a demolition permit for up to 90 days. And during that 90 days, the thought was that it would give the applicant and the board some time to come together and discuss alternatives to demolition, perhaps saving the structure, or if it's possible to potentially save a piece for the historic record, maybe take some pictures, so on and so forth. So that's the purpose of the delay. Knowing that you can't stop a property owner from demolishing a structure completely, there was a few off-ramps that were built into that section of the code. One of the off-ramps is that the property owner can say, listen, we don't think there's anything historically significant about this property. Please remove us from the list. The other option is to say, listen, we understand there might be something. We can't wait the full 90 days. Is there any way you can waive the delay period? So the one that's before you today is option one, where they don't feel there's anything historically significant about this particular structure, and they are requesting removal from the list. And just to sort of bring this full circle, this is the old sheriff's substation that's on the site of your soon-to-be splash pad park. So if you want your splash pad, this building kind of needs to go away. They have submitted for their demolition permit, so we are hoping that you would be amenable to this request. It was submitted by the construction company that's contracted with the city's blessing, so that's why we are here.
Motion to approve the removal of the structure on our splash pad to be.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any other comments? All right, roll call.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogaz.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon. Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, 9A.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you just approved the demolition of the former substation, we do need to find a location for community policing, and Commander is here as well. We've looked at a solution together that will place our community policing officers still in town at the old library, which will be their final destination, we hope, once we're able to construct the new building there. There are federal and state requirements that there be separation between the current staff that we have, the neighborhood services staff and police staff, protection of materials and information. And so there is, the question I received, is it possible to put them in the old library? There is, but there is investment and cost to do that in a structure that you would be eventually tearing down. So we've looked at a temporary facility. We do have one-time costs of connections of utilities. Our hope is at some point you will need to relocate neighborhood services out of the old library as well into this type of structure as well. And if we invest in the in-ground utilities, temporary utilities, hopefully that cost would be saved when we put the new structure in. And this does include approximately 3 years of rental as well into the space. And Commander's here to help if there's any questions about level of service or the importance of needing the staff to be able to be inside the city limits to provide their duties.
Thank you. Commander, how you doing this evening?
Good evening. Mark Benora, Commander, Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Can we use that command center you showed me last night as the temporary?
That would be great. We do use that countywide, of course, for any sort of functions like we had last night. We gave you a tour. It is a great asset to the Sheriff's Office. Doesn't have the space that we need, however. We do have 24 positions allotted to the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second, roll call.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Commander. We should have asked Andy while he was here if we could use the
I was gonna
credits
say.
from one of the houses that we're tearing down to cover our connection
Or if we
costs.
could
We'll
just
make-
predate it.
We'll make contact with Bonita Springs Utility to see what's available to us.
Maybe we get grandfathered in before the tax increase goes, since the building was there. I don't know.
I think it's more of the city's end of the actual utility line instead of, it's not, or of relocation, so. I just had a couple of quick announcements. One is the City of Bonita Springs will be a comprehensive plan workshop, which will be Tuesday, December 16th. Dr. Banyan will be here for the workshop. We'll also be doing council briefings during that time period as well. I think we have one starting tomorrow to begin the state mandated changes. We'll also be looking at some land development code changes that are triggered through the state mandated comprehensive plan changes that have to occur. And then we'll be looking for some feedback on future amendments as we go through this process. This will be a multi-year process as we move forward, all in keeping with what we are able to do with Senate Bill 180. And additionally, I understand from community development that there is a need to move the January 21st meeting to 5:30 p.m. because there's anticipated that our next meeting, December, will have zoning cases, and then they would be presented to council January 21st, and they would need one night meeting. So we'd ask you to move that meeting to the evening,
The January 21st, 5:30.
to 5:30, correct. And additionally, we will be looking to have the ADU workshop at the next, or update and presentation at our next council meeting. And also Nicole Perino has been working with the Wonder Gardens to do a capital improvement presentation from their board as well.
Thank you. All right, Mayor and council member reports. Chris, I believe you had something?
Yeah, there was a handout that was passed out prior to the meeting. It dealt with the Arts Bonita. Last year, they received a $150,000 grant. What needs to happen this year is that the City of Bonita Springs need to basically draft a support letter to be filed with the Division of Cultural Affairs of the state of Florida, supporting the allocation of a grant to Arts Bonita. There's a letter that's attached to this handout, and what I would do is make a motion that we go ahead and issue the letter and have it signed appropriately, whether it's by the mayor, I guess, whatever, so that we can get this over to Arts Bonita for their filing as quickly as possible, because they have to get this thing filed by I think by just the end of this week, so.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any discussion?
What is it's just they're going to get the grant if we write this letter?
Well,
helps them get the grant.
it's,
Hopefully, right.
yeah,
I understand that it's required to have a letter of support from
From the
local
municipality.
government, and I understand it's for programming as well, the additional programming funds.
Oh, great, okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Oh,
You already
yeah,
did,
we
that.
got
We
a
have a
motion
second
so-
already.
Okay, good.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon. Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Anything else, Chris?
Yeah, at the next meeting, I'm going to bring forth a resolution. The Wonder Gardens wants to recognize the Rotary Club in terms of the money that was given for the education project, the Cheeky Hut facility. And so I will be bringing forth a resolution to provide the naming rights to the Rotary for their donation to make that possible. So I just wanted to let you know.
Just logistically, from a standpoint of how does that work from from the Wonder Garden standpoint? Like, do they go out to their donors and everybody gets an option, or is there a set price and then it goes out, or is it highest bidder, or what is it exactly?
Well, it's what they consider a major donation. So in this case, the Rotary gave them $30,000 for the construction, and so they want to name it after Rotary.
So how many buildings are we going to do naming rights on at Wonder Gardens? I'm not saying I'm against it, I'm just curious. If we're only going to do 3, is 30,000 enough? If we're going to do 5, or if we're going to do, the animal hospital per se, and then 2 or 3 other, if we're going to do 5 buildings, 6 buildings, fine. If we're only going to do 2 buildings, this and the animal hospital,
We'll also to clarify, there's smaller dollar amounts that does not require, like, so the otter enclosure, and then there was the alligator, which I believe they received donations for, and they put plaques to those folks who donated, but this is a dollar amount significant that requires the council's approval.
So I don't know, to answer your question, I don't know exactly how many buildings they would ultimately do, but I don't know of any other buildings right now that are, other than the plans to build an animal care facility. And I don't know any other buildings that would be so named.
how long? So how long are naming rights?
Well, I assume it's in perpetuity.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So for $30,000, that's again, and 30,000 is huge I'm not knocking Rotary at all. I'm just saying if we're going to do 2 buildings, say hypothetically, only 2 buildings, and it's going to be from now until the end of time, I don't know if $30,000 is enough.
I guess my question is what, if I understand what the structure is, you got 6, 8 poles, you got a thatch roof sitting over a cement base. I would assume that, I'm sorry, what else?
Paver brick base.
Paver brick, thank you. That the city paid for.
That was in the details.
But that I would assume will cover the bulk of the cost, that $30,000. But whereas that animal hospital, I hope that there is something that someone's going to write a check for $1 million plus for the animal hospital.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because I mean, if we're only, like I said, if we're only doing 2 buildings, and naming rights, and that's something that if naming rights is for 5 or 10 years, okay. But if naming rights is now until forever,
I think it's more because they're paying for the structure, so.
I get that. But it's if we're only gonna do 2 structures, how much have we put in, and how much and to be in the middle of our downtown forever? That's
But Rotary will be
$30,000.
here forever, and they give back to the
They
city.
do. No,
all the
I
time.
love Rotary. This is nothing to do with Rotary. Take them out of it. I'm just saying from a financial standpoint, if we're only doing 2 buildings and it's from now till forever, is that enough?
Well, it's for a spatial structure that's needed
And it's
for this specific purpose.
It sounds like you're worried, Jesse, and rightfully so, about if we set this number, that any other building in the future, and I don't think we're in that position. If we put in an animal hospital, $30,000 would not be enough.
Right.
So I don't think we're setting a precedent here, though, by just doing this one, based on what it really is, which is a large shelter.
And if there is a precedence, they're paying for the entire thing. So if somebody wants to pay for the entire animal hospital, then of course they can have their name on it. So,
It's not a hospital, it's a treatment center.
treatment center, yeah.
Remember?
Botox injections, things like that, yeah.
Right, can I add one little thing? So I've done a couple of like baseball stadiums and other issues in contracts before. So there's usually almost always a duration associated with any kind of capital investment like this. There's naming rights for some period of time. In this situation, we're talking about a cheeky hut essentially, and so I don't know that that's a big deal because it has a lifespan of its own. It's not going to last forever. This is actually more of a concern probably for the Wonder Gardens to figure out, because if in 5 years that cheeky hut gets severely damaged, they may not be able to raise funds with new naming rights for it. I completely understand the concern about a capital building, but for purposes of naming rights of this type of structure, I don't know that it needs to be very complicated.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Well, I think.
We're going to bring it back a
we're gonna bring-
resolution.
yeah, a resolution.
Bring back the resolution, yeah.
I'm sorry. I got out of it.
Anything else, Chris?
Just to let you know that we met as I reported at the last meeting, we met with the Fay family on November 3rd. We received a couple of term sheets this morning. We being Chris Hall from Collier County, myself, and John McLean from Estero. They're offering two different term sheets. One is for a straight easement that would be for the property that we would be getting a certain certain amount of property with respect to the right-of-way. The second would be where we would buy the whole right-of-way and then provide them a permanent easement. This is still going to require some more negotiation. The good news is we finally have something in terms of a document that we can look at and react to and negotiate from. And it's taken this long, better part of a year and 9 months to get to this point where we've actually got something to work with. And so I know John's talked to his counsel, just filling him in that we're still under negotiation on this thing. That's where we're at. I haven't even had a chance to study the thing yet. It came in this morning. So there's, I would assume by the time the next meeting comes around for council on the 17th, that I'll be able to fill you in more on what these term sheets are and where we're headed with this thing at that point.
Is that something that can be circulated ahead of time, or?
Well, I would say that yeah, I can circulate it ahead of time, but I will say that there are problems with the term sheets as they exist in terms of just the Florida statutes and what cities are allowed to do. So there's going to have to be some significant amendments to these things to make them work. So I don't want to.
But it still would be good for us to get an idea of where the Fay family is heading.
The Fay family does not want to sell a fee simple title. And so they're trying to figure a way to negotiate either an easement for us or to sell the whole thing but retain an easement themselves so that they could at some future point reactivate the railroad. So, and I'm more along the line of an easement because it costs a hell of a lot less money for the easement than it would be to purchase.
My understanding, Chris, if they bought it back, it would be at that value then, not the current value. All new appraisal and.
Yeah. And they'd have to have a willing buyer, right?
But we
be them.
still, we
oh,
would.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we would still, this whole thing would still be dependent upon getting appraisals for the value of the easement or the value of a purchase with giving an easement. So there's a lot of work yet to be done, but I'll circulate it and I will give you the thoughts that, because I want to have a meeting with Collier County and Bonita and Estero, make sure we're all on the same page, and I'll be able to brief you by the 17th.
And is that going to be a public meeting?
It's going to be a negotiation team meeting.
Question, so also with that, assuming we're able to get somewhere with Collier on that, would there be mixed financial buy-in from us and the city of Estero, or would this be between us and Collier kind of thing?
No, it would be a three-party agreement.
They would be a part of it too? Cool.
Three-party agreement.
So if I heard the discussion, Chris, that essentially we're not going to look at doing any kind of workshop at all with the trust and Bert in terms of what this would look like. When we had talked about this before, about a month ago, we said we'd probably be at a point that we could go ahead and formally discuss the scope.
Yeah, I
And
would
the
think
scope.
so. I'm still planning on that workshop in January.
Okay.
So I don't see this getting negotiated to anything final before the first of the year. I'm saying.
No, but that's fine. That's the piece that I'm looking for, and I guess the biggest piece from my end is that if you go down either of these 2 or 3 options that you're talking about, how does that play out on the build-out and ultimately the long-term operation of the trail? So those are my questions.
And that workshop would address that.
Good, thank you.
That's it.
Nigel?
Yes, sir. First, two compliments, and I'm glad you're here tonight, Commander. Several people said last night it was so obvious, the comments were how friendly our deputies are and were at the event last night. And despite your premature release of the toys and balls, which we've forgiven you for, but they're highly visible but so friendly, and it's very much appreciated by the community as well, and it was observed. So thank you for that. And then I want to compliments to our mayor, Mike, who does a lot of things like this. Last night, he set up the tables, he had the cards out there. I don't know how many he ended up getting, but probably
560
last night. But Mike was there helping people fill out cards. I don't think a lot of people know, he went into his own pocket to buy thousands of cards.
About 7,000.
Yep. And we're gonna go tomorrow to the high school and pick up another 780 odd, but compliments, Mike, because you were working it yesterday, and what you've done on this, and I hope the community realizes we have one more day, that if you want to send a card to one of our troops who are overseas, and I'll say this personally, when I was 19 years old in a foreign country where people didn't want us, nobody spoke our language, didn't know what the heck I was doing, mail call. I remember getting, mail from my family. Guys would show up at mail call and got nothing. And I know some people think that, well, a stranger, I don't even know this person. Trust me, if you're a kid in a foreign country and you get a piece of mail, it's appreciated. So I encourage you, what we're doing is not for show and tell, it means something. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. And
There's no TDC meeting this week, or there will be this month, there wasn't last month.
Thank you. And I know you bought quite a few cards too. Laura also contributed, and Arlene's bought quite a few. So I appreciate everybody's help with that. Jim?
Yep. Navy.
Yeah, a reiteration of comments. The way you set up that table last night, Michael, was absolutely wonderful. The interaction with the community, everyone from 18 months to 95 years old filling out cards was truly a very wonderful sight, and they came from the beginning, and I bailed at about 8:10, and Mike was still going after 8:10, so thank you very much for pulling this program together. Final reminder for the laying over the wreaths across America at the Bonita Springs Cemetery on Saturday, December the 13th. Ceremony will start, I believe, at 11:45. Try to get there a little bit early because parking stinks over there, and I would encourage just parking across the street and walking across Imperial to the cemetery. But the Daughters of the American Revolution, Boy Scouts, and 3 or 4 key family members over at the residences immediately adjoining the cemetery have been taking care of that cemetery for years, and they've just done a great job. And they'll be honoring over 140 plus veterans that have been buried there. Here's a shameless plug, but this is from the Rotary Club tree sales. I want to thank all of the folks, the downtown businesses and so forth. We got evacuated from Ace Hardware's parking lot after 37 odd years.
What happened there?
There was a false alarm in terms of a outlot being built on, and so we went on a hunt to move somewhere. And so essentially, we finally found the spot, and Susie and Steve Sims stepped up and worked out something with the owner of the former Palm Shop to allow us to set up the tent. Ace Hardware allowed us to put a sign to say we've moved. And I think the biggest thing, this is one of our biggest fundraisers each year, and I was just asking Bob Lombardo, who was here earlier, is that last year, for the last 3 years, we've put about $100,000 a year back into the community. And since we've been doing the tree sales, we've put in over $1 million. So I'm very proud of my partners in Rotary. But this Friday night, beginning about 5 o'clock, we're doing a toy drive for some of the needy kids in the area. And we're going to have both the elementary school choirs from Bonita Springs Elementary School as well as Spring Creek. They'll be performing shortly before Santa Claus's arrival at 6 o'clock this Friday night. So if you can join us, that would be much appreciated. And if you'd love to buy a tree, that would be even more appreciated. So thank you. That's all I got.
That's at the tree lot?
It's at the tree lot behind Heaven Shakes and Heavenly Flowers.
Heaven Sent.
Heaven Sent.
Thank you, Jim. Jamie?
No, I really don't have a whole lot other than thank you. The cards are pretty amazing. I've had a lot of people ask about them and do them, so it's pretty incredible. So thank you. Last night's event was amazing. It's pretty neat to go up on the stage and look out to see how many people from far, I mean, Naples, Fort Myers, you hear it from coming all over. So it's pretty neat to see. So thank you to Laura's group again and to all the staff.
Thank you. Jesse?
Echo the same sentiments. Great job by staff. Mike, look, everybody knows I was the first and earliest back review. These type of things were exactly why. This is really it. This is a microcosm of the type of person you are. You're the mayor, and you're sitting there. You're setting up the cards. You're going into your pocket. You're doing the whole thing. You're engaging everybody. This is what we had the pleasure of learning of 8 years of serving with you. And this is exactly what
I
it
have
was
a good
about.
team. The staff helped out a lot too. They're filling out tons of cards. They set up the table last night.
Said
I
like
didn't set up the
said
table.
like Mike Gibson. Said like Mike Gibson. So yeah, good job, man. I'm proud of you. You're exactly what I knew you were going to be.
Thank you. Laura?
Again, the card drive was fabulous, and what's amazing is that people were thrilled to do it. Like one woman said, "You've made my day," and I'm thinking, really? You want to fill out some more? And then all the merchants downtown, I think they followed your leadership and they all got in, as they did with decorations. It was amazing. And I had a Rotary meeting at Sugar Shack, and then it got canceled. But Bobby Bird and I showed up. So I'm like, well, I'm here with cards. You want to help? And so we got like cards signed by, and people are like, who, what? All right, just sign, just say thank you. But then Sugar Shack took it on itself to do their, go get cards and continued the drive. And so Susie was the same way, and Rooftop, right? And of course, Engel's Bakery. But it was wonderful. And the other merchants also all helped out. It was really beautiful, the spirit. And I always love to see the deputies moving and shaking with the little kids. And it was beautiful last night. So thank you, Laura, Teller, and team.
Thank you. Just it was a great event last night. Thank you to all the staff for everything they do. They always put on great events. Definitely can't do it without them.
Or the money.
Yeah. And you just want to say thank you to all the businesses that are collecting the cards for the troops. The Bonita Storage, Beach Storage, Rooftop, Sugar Shack, Heaven Shakes, Heaven Scent Flowers, and also the McSwain House, the Historical Society, all helping to collect those cards. So thank you to everybody, and that's all I have. And also staff. Anybody that's been trying to get a permit, sorry, they're all backed up because staff's been doing nothing but filling out cards. I'm just kidding. But all right, going on to public comment.
Here we have 5 registered speakers. I'll call them, then open it up to others. Rachel Brown, and she'll be followed by James Anderst.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello. My name's Rachel Brown. I'm a resident of Bonita Springs. I'm here to talk about what I love most about Bonita Springs. I love that we have a small town charm with a walkable downtown area and passive parks and preserves. Active parks like the dog park and passive parks like the lot next to it that has scattered remnant sandhills, scrub, and pine uplands. I enjoy taking my family to passive parks like this one and like the Cullums Trail and showing them what the world looked like before it was developed. I believe we ought to create a warranty for our parks because as it is now, they often fall prey to developers through the simple process of rezoning, and by the time the public hears about the development, it's too late, and the powers that be have already approved the plant and wildlife removal. And these are not ecologists. I am proposing that we permanently fix the status of the lot next to the dog park before anyone else tries to develop this fragile ecosystem. home to Asclepias tomentosa, a native milkweed, not the kind you buy at nurseries, but one that's only found in 2 to 3 locations in Lee County. We need to preserve it the same way Cullum's Trail is preserved. Otherwise, we will continue on a trend of clearing land and forcibly relocating the tortoises and annihilating everything else. Land can be susceptible to development, whether it's public or private. Another reason why it is important to zone all the remaining untouched land as preserve/passive parks and to fix it as such. Just this past month, a stunning scrub, 4200 Bonita Beach, with everything from scrub rosemary to deer moss lichen to reindeer lichen to Lakea cornua to Stylisma abdita was destroyed. And 27695 Imperial River Road, which is also doomed for development, even though it is the only one of the few places that you can find turkey oaks in the county. And there's plenty of scrub rosemary too. The price of development is species extinction and anti-intellectualism. It is most of everyone in this room doesn't know the species that I just listed. However, it is thanks to them that we are all alive. Plants make oxygen for us, and this is not the way that we should repay them by constantly destroying them. If we look at a map of Bonita Springs, you'll see that the dog park and the lot next to it is surrounded by residential area, and that is the only untouched land in that area.
Thank you.
James Anderst, and he'll be followed by Brad Talbot.
Howdy, Council. My name is James Anders, and I'm here to talk about the potential development of the lot next to the Mayhood Dog Park. And I'd really like to start by asking you to think about how many places are there in Bonita where you could sit in the shade of an oak tree and not see the road? Yeah, I can't think of too many places either. This park also serves 4 separate suburb communities that are within walking distance from it. You know, there's Rosemary, Bending Oaks, Gardens at Bonita, the apartment complex across the street. So this really is a place that has community engagement. And when it comes to developing perhaps a soccer field or a golf course, I'd say that Terry Street already has 2 soccer fields, you know, the Marnie Fields and the soccer complex just on the other side of the highway. And I believe there's a golf course on Terry Street as well. So I'd say that another one is not really needed, and I'd say that it would probably cost more to maintain than just keeping the dog park the way it is. And on an environmental level, talking about soil and scrub, soil is really a sponge for water, and it helps to recharge the groundwater and prevent flooding for the local areas. Leveling the field will not help this. And also, of course, clearing out the local wildlife, the local trees and scrub, will displace the local wildlife, palmetto bugs, spiders, rats. These animals will go to the communities next to them. That's just going to happen if the lot is developed. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come up and do your jobs, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Brad Talbot, and he'll be followed by Conrad Eggers.
Good afternoon. To touch on, he actually kind of covered a lot of what I was going to say. I just want to remind everyone that our fearless governor, Ron DeSantis, actually did sign into law HB 209, which made it all state parks, as far as I can understand the reading of the bill, would be protected from furthering development. This is city-owned land, so I think there's already some precedent for us to maybe continue the momentum on this bipartisan kind of attitude towards protecting our native life and species and what makes Florida great. So that's all I really wanted to say there. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Conrad Eggers, and he'll be followed by Amanda Muzzy.
Hi there, my name's Conrad Eggers. I'm a local mobile home park operator. I think that we should preserve our precious few remaining natural areas as passive parks, such as the large piece of land west of the Terry Street Dog Park and the smaller parcel on the southwest corner of Kentucky and Tennessee. Instead of a new redundant soccer complex, we should leave these natural areas alone and preserve their trails and important habitat for threatened wildlife and plants. We have plenty of existing parks and soccer complexes that could be improved with less money and still serve our community's needs. A massive part of why I choose to live in and invest my money and energy into Bonita Springs is the balance of nature and conservation with urbanism, walkability, and culture that some on our council have worked hard to develop. Another soccer field would be a large, expensive, and featureless piece of land of little value to most Bonita residents in what should be our urban core. Many more people appreciate nature and enjoy walks than play soccer, and far more often at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda Muzzy.
Hello, thank you for your time. The wetlands are protected, which is why the birds in the wetlands are the only bird populations not declining in Florida. If the uplands were also protected, they would not be so under threat with the gophers and tortoises and other species that depend on them would not experience habitat loss. The lot next to the dog park on the East Terry is the only untouched green space in the city of Bonita. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was the last registered speaker.
All right, any other public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Kyle Moran, Feltz Avenue. I just want to thank you for an amazing event last night. I mean, to see how well that was attended for the tree lighting. As Councilman Fitzpatrick pointed out, we had all ages from the obviously old to the barely born. And I think they really were attracted and delighted by a really professionally run event. And kudos to staff and Lee County Sheriff, of course, for all of that. It's an amazing expression of community and culture. In fact, part of me wishes that, you know, those 10,000 or so that enjoyed last night would come here and thank you personally. But I suppose if they all spoke for 3 minutes or so, it'd take hundreds and hundreds of hours. But even though they're not coming here to thank you, realize that they're voting with their feet. And they're coming downtown for your events. And when they come downtown for your events, they also come down more often. Sugar Shack downtown is averaging over 10,000 people a week, and that's creating a lot of great jobs. And I'm generally aware of a very productive CIP discussion that you folks have had about the impact of these publicly sponsored events, which are specifically called for in the city comp plan. In fact, that city comp plan in its opening paragraphs calls for the downtown to be a focus of daytime and evening activity, a meeting place for folks of all ages. I mean, it's check, check. We're doing this, right, with a unique mix of restaurants and shops. We're working on those. With great publicly sponsored activities, check again, and entertainment. We're working on these things. So this is really all coming together, and the impacts are positive. They're positive tangibly, and they're positive intangibly. They're tangible positive impacts in the night that you hold these events, and lasting impacts through the rest of the year. So I really want to thank you for all your incredible work on that. And boy, I'm looking forward to the 250th anniversary on July 4th. I'm sure that'll be a great event, as you brought up. And thank you again for just really thinking through that downtown. I can't tell you, I hear 10 times a day about the appreciation that people have for that beautiful sign that you put up over Oak Creek, right? That sends such a clear statement that Bonita is a great place for community and culture. So let's keep that up. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Come in.
Ron George, Little Hickory Island area. One thing, I know Matt mentioned the fact that you're starting to work with the county on Hickory Boulevard issues, and I think it would be great to have the signs that identify vacancies and parking, etc. But I noticed driving north on Hickory Boulevard, Now that there's a lot more traffic going because whatever, the tourist season, et cetera, in the large beach clubs that are being built, I'd like to see maybe if the city could encourage the county to maybe on the right-hand lanes, put a bypass lane to allow cars to pass on the right. And the reason for that is typically when a car is trying to turn left, they're blocking everybody up from both directions. And I just think it would be a good idea if the county's at all interested in improving the problem. I think that would greatly improve the problem. I know there's one place on Hickory Boulevard that does have, maybe it used to be a bus stop or something like that, but they do sort of have a lane. And I think if we would be able to incorporate more of those lanes, I think it would greatly improve the traffic flow. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron.
Hello, my name is Pamela Vasquez, and I'm here to voice my concern of the development of the passive land on East Terry and Matheson, as well as Tennessee and Kentucky. These lots of land are important to several native plants and animals here in Southwest Florida, and the development of this land, rather than the conservation of it, will be a detrimental loss to the beautiful Florida wildlife that so many residents and tourists enjoy. Please maintain these parks as passive and invest in protecting the very few spaces that people can experience native Florida ecosystems. In particular, please preserve the lot of land next to the dog park on East Terry and Matheson directly. This area is the only sandhill ecosystem in downtown Bonita Springs. Please do not turn these ecosystems into a soccer field or sports complex, and thus evicting the native wildlife that live there. Development of this space would be very difficult to undo, and a better use of the land would be to add benches and wildlife information placards so more Floridians can appreciate the unique ecosystems that we are home to and their positive impacts. I don't know if when you guys walk outside and you see the wildlife here and the nature here, when you spend the time to look, how much peace it gives you. I think we all need more of that here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, motion to adjourn?
Yes.
We're adjourned.